Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Zuren. I'm your Lake County Treasurer, and we're going to go over a variety of different things today. One of them is property taxes. We're also going to go over a new 12-month payment plan that we rolled out this year, just a way to budget for property taxes. It's been extremely popular. We've had a few articles on this program, and we are getting probably 30 to 40 people signed up a day. Our phones are in off the hook at the treasurer's office, and it's an extremely popular way to kind of manage your money and budget for your property taxes. Also, a little financial literacy. We're going to go over some identity theft, which is a real issue, especially with seniors in Lake County. When I do these presentations, a lot of the seniors talk about some stories that they've had with identity theft, and it's pretty telling on what's going on, locally and nationally with identity theft. And then also, we're going to go over tax reduction programs. So homestead, there's some legislation regarding increasing homestead, and also some other tax reduction programs for veterans or police or fire. So we'll go over all that. But just to give you just a background of what the treasurer does, I don't just collect property taxes. So we collect about $472 million a year. That's probably what we'll collect this year in Lake County property taxes. But I also invest the county's funds. So we have a portfolio of just over $400 million. And the good news is, the last couple of years, our rate of return, our investment return, has gone way up. And just to give an example, in 2021, the county received about $1.5 million in investment return. And this year, we project it to be over $19 million. And what that means is the county has more money without raising taxes to get things done. So there's a lot of issues with bridges, there's a lot of issues with roads, and there's more money without raising taxes, which is a real good thing. We also manage the delinquencies in Lake County, which is about 2.5% of the 114,000 parcels that we collect property taxes on. 2.5% of them are delinquent. And we've really worked really hard over the last 3 years with Lifeline and to find grant money, and also with payment programs to bring people current, because the philosophy of the treasurer's office is we don't want to foreclose on anybody who wants to keep their house. So if somebody wants help to stay in their house, if they have medical issues, they have any reason, and they want to stay in their house, we want to work with them so they can stay in the house. But I was a councilman in Eastlake for 7 years, and one of the issues that we had in Eastlake were abandoned houses, where somebody would leave the house, it would be vacant for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and the grass would be real high in the back, and there might even be some rodents or something in the garage. Those houses, the treasurer's office with the land bank can help clean up, because we have the ability to foreclose on those properties and get somebody to purchase them and fix them up or tear them down. And if you're dealing with that in your neighborhood, an abandoned, blighted house, it's a real issue. So it's just one of the tools we have to help clean up the county. And then the other thing that I'm really proud of was when I was elected about 4 years ago, there was a overpayment account of money where what used to happen, and this went back to 1983, when somebody would pay their taxes twice. So they would pay their taxes, but their mortgage company would also pay the taxes, or the title company would pay their taxes, or sometimes both spouses would pay the taxes. The husband and wife would mail in the check for both the taxes. The old policy used to be the county wouldn't return it unless you asked for it. But some of that money was sitting there for 40 years. It was $5.3 million that was just sitting in the county funds, and we researched all the way back to 1983, and we credited 17,000 people in Lake County. It could have been a few dollars. The highest one was $40,000, but we credited back, and the rest of the money we sent a letter to the prosecutor's office. We can't find any more owners of the money. We just want to return it to the general fund. But we've researched 40 years, and giving back as much money as we could, I thought was absolutely the right thing. If you don't know it's there, how can you request it back? So.
Is that a continuous process? You continue to do that?
Yeah, well, what happened when I went into office, our policy now is if there's a duplicate payment, when we balance the collection cycle, so in February, within a couple weeks, we find out who's made duplicate payments, and we either return it, we cut a check, or we credit it to their taxes, so it no longer happens anymore. And then a lot of times we will get, this happens a lot of times the mortgage company will make a payment, wire a payment in for the taxes, and then we'll get a check. We will return the check, we won't even cash it if we catch it. So we don't take duplicate payments anymore, or we'll return them as soon as we can. So, so there's a couple different credits that everyone should look on their property tax bill to make sure that you're getting. If you live in your house, if it's an owner-occupied house, there's a credit that you should see right on your tax bill. So that's one thing that I just wanted to point out that everybody should look for. Also, if you're over 65, and if one person on the deed of the house is over 65, and it's an owner-occupied property, then you should qualify for the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption, it varies from city to city, township to township, but it's anywhere from $400 to about $700 in tax reduction per year. And if one person on that deed is over 65, then definitely check your tax bill to make sure that you're registered for that. And then military service, active service extension, those are some different tax savings programs that are available out there. Now, there are a couple bills at the state of Ohio legislation that I wanted to mention. There is one, it's called House Bill 57, and what the bill does is it wants to extend homestead to increase by inflation each year, and that is House Bill 57. So Dan Troy is the representative, and also Jamie Callender is a representative for Lake County. So if you, for House Bill 57, if you're interested in supporting homestead to be increased each year by inflation, you could shoot them an email, or you could just go online and just voice your support for that bill. That would be good because homestead hasn't really changed for like 12 years. It's been the first $25,000 of the taxes, and it's a nice credit, but it certainly should be adjusted at some point because it hasn't changed for a long time. So just increasing it by inflation would be a little bit of a benefit. There's also another bill. It's House Bill 60, and this is to increase homestead the income qualification. So homestead's a little confusing because if you were approved for homestead before 2010, it doesn't matter what your income is right now. But if it was after 2010, you have to qualify under taxable income, which is about $38,600. So if you were approved after 2010, every year they're going to look at your income to make sure you qualify for homestead. Before, you automatically get it, no matter what your income is before 2010. But House Bill 60, which is Dan Troy's bill, that would start to increase the income qualification to get the homestead. So if you're going to email your state representatives, that's another bill that would be really beneficial to seniors, just to show that you support that. And there's one other really good bill out there, House Bill 90. Tom Patton, he's in Cuyahoga County. He has a bill to authorize no taxes for a veteran that is 100% disabled, which I think would be a real good bill too. Just whatever the house is worth, there's no taxes on it, and pretty supportive of that also, and that is House Bill 90. And I know there are quite a few 100% disabled veterans in Lake County, so that would be a real beneficial bill to them. Okay, and this is the, there's a packet, everybody should have a packet. And one of the forms is the homestead exemption form. So this is it, if you don't have homestead, you can fill it out here if you want, and I will take it with me. I'll turn it in tomorrow. But basically, for homestead, there's a lot of different caveats in it, but if one person who owns the house on the deed is 65 or older, it's owner occupied, that's pretty much the basic for qualifying. Also the income limit, and they're going to look at your state of Ohio tax return, your taxable income, the last one filed in 2023. It's got to be under 38,600, and that would be the number that it has to be under to qualify for homestead. There's a lot of questions that I get on homestead. If you could have the house in a trust, if you could have the house in an LLC, and the answer is yes, you can. If you're the only one on the LLC and you are 65 or older, then you can still get homestead. So it doesn't have to be in your personal name. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions on homestead. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next slide. Yes?
Under type of home, I own a condominium, and our building has 4 separate condos in it. If I filed for this, how would I mark this?
Just a condominium? Yeah.
Well, there's several different. See, we've got our unit is multi. There's 4 units in a condo.
I would just check condominium.
Okay.
Yeah, just check condominium.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's some condominiums are in high-rise apartments, and there's some different. But yours is just a standard.
Ours is just a standard condo, and we've got 4 within the whole building.
So just check condominium.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right. This is really hard to see, but I just wanted to point out that each city and township, homestead has because of the levies that have been passed in the city or township, homestead has a different credit. So I think some of the lower ones are around $400 a year, and some of the townships, when you get out into like Madison Township, some of them are as much as $700 per year for the homestead exemption. So it's going to vary depending on where you live in Lake County. So it's really hard to read, but I wanted to squeeze them all in there if I could. Okay, and then so there is a program for veterans, which is actually it doubles the credit for homestead. So homestead is the first $25,000 is tax exempt if you're a senior for the value of your property. But if you're a veteran and you're 100% disabled, then it's $50,000. So instead of getting that $400 to $700 credit on your taxes, it would be double that. So $800 to $1,400. So if anybody is 100%, you got to be 100% disabled. But that would be a better program to apply for than homestead because it's twice as much. We gave a bunch of presentations a couple years ago, and we found quite a few surviving spouses that qualified under this program. So if you know anybody who their spouse has passed away who was the veteran, and the surviving spouse has not remarried, they qualify for the exemption. So if you know anybody like that, and I think it was 2022, we found like 7 or 8 people that never knew about the program in Lake County, and we signed them up for it. So it was really nice to get them the savings. And this is a program. I think there's like 7 or 8 people signed up in the state of Ohio. But if a fireman or a police officer was killed in the line of duty, there is a program for the spouse where they can have their taxes reduced. And I always like to talk about this. If anybody knows of anybody, they could contact my office or the auditor's office, and we'll be happy to get them signed up for the tax reduction. And then this is, there's an application in your packet. for the homestead, but you can also call the auditor's office, which the number is 350-2536. And then the other thing is the commissioners recently increased the discount for seniors for water and sewer. So if you are approved for a homestead reduction, you should be able to get your reduction on your water and sewer bill too. I think there's an application in the packet, but it's 30%. And based on most households, it's probably about $100 a year in reduction for your water and sewer bill. So if you do have homestead, you should apply for this too. This will give you a nice little discount. Okay, and then everyone should have this. There's a 12-month payment plan. So we came out with this earlier this year, and the thought behind this is, taxes are high. Taxes are a big chunk of money every year. And one way to manage it is, especially for somebody who has a fixed income, or even if somebody has W-2 income in there and they make a salary, so they know what they're going to make every single month. It'd be kind of nice just to budget it. So we have this program where each month we'll just take 1/12 of the tax payment and we'll to pay your taxes. So you're not going to get a bill twice a year for thousands of dollars. You're just going to be able to budget in your monthly budget, which we think is a good idea. We worked it out where there's no fees. So it's just, you could sign up for this, you could call us, we'll sign you up, we'll email you over the forms, and then you'll get emailed that the taxes are paid, we collected the taxes. One thing we've really changed in the treasurer's office is we use a lot of text messages, we use a lot of emails. We try to cut down on the mail. When I first came into the office, we were getting probably about 100 plus tax bills back that were never delivered every time. And there's 114,000, but when 100 come back and 100 people don't get their tax bill, it is not a good thing. So we've really tried to focus on emailing and texting, and I think we have 7,000 emails, which makes a big difference. We know they got their tax bill, and texting, I think we have about 4,000 people that we text instead of mailing them a bill, which is a big improvement. But if you're interested in the 12-month payment plan, you could fill out the form. I could take it with me, or you could call our office and we'll get you signed up for it. But I think it really is a great way to budget for this expense, which is a pretty big expense annually. And then
so it's an automatic deduction, right? You can't just
yeah,
take
you could actually, we prefer that it's automatic deduction, but you could actually sign up for it and come in and pay it in person if you want. We'll still take cash payments, we'll take checks that you mail in, or we'll set it up where we're taking it out of your checking or savings account, whatever you want to do. The next form is for auto payment. So if you want your taxes to come out of your checking or savings account, you could fill that out. But we don't want to discourage anybody from doing the 12-month payment plan, because it's a lot easier than getting shocked with the bill. So if you want to pay it in cash in person, you could come to our office, just sign up for the program so we know that's what you want to do. And then I want to go over, I wanted to mention this, we do a lot of presentations for high schools, and I thought this was really interesting. We talk about financial literacy for juniors and seniors who've been through all the local high schools. And one of the things that is kind of shocking to the students is I always ask them if they had their first job. And a lot of times when they're 16, 17, they're getting their first job. And I talk about taxes, and they are all shocked they have to pay taxes. And, a lot of them, I asked them, I said, when you got your first paycheck, were you surprised at all the taxes that were taken out? And they were some of them are mad, some of them are not very happy, but, you know, we talk about if they made a $500 in their paycheck, you know, they probably $80 to $90 were taken out in taxes, and they were very shocked. But I do take the time when I go to the high schools to talk about where taxes go, so students understand that, you know, it not only pays for roads and police and fire, but you know, libraries and different things that they use in the county, which I think is real important for them to understand. But I always like this slide because they're always shocked. One other thing I talk about with the students, and I think is good for everybody, is a emergency fund. So I usually, when I talk to the students, the importance of in your budget, putting an emergency fund for something unexpected. I do a little game with the students where they prepare a budget, but I always put in little surprises in there, like if they have a dog or cat, if there's a vet bill, or they have to buy new tires for their car, and I'll put like a $200 surprise in there per month. But the importance of in your monthly budget, you know, putting some money away, even if it's a small amount, for an emergency and not having to use a credit card is so important. So I always like to point this out. All right, so we're going to go over credit, and oops, let's catch up here. So we're going to go over credit, and one of the things I talk to the high school students about is the difference between a credit card and a debit card. And not all of them understand. A lot of them don't understand that, you know, a credit card is borrowing from a bank, and the interest they pay, I think right now it's about 22% interest. And I really break down in the PowerPoint, you know, if they had a $1,000 running balance, that's $220 a year. It's almost $20 a month that they're just paying for interest. You know, it's really good to have a visual for the you know, for the high school students to see what that does, because just their understanding of debit and credit is not real strong. So it's just one thing that I go over with them. And then I always thought this is I always like to ask everybody this. So a credit score, you know, whether you own a house or you're a renter, you're gonna buy a car, you're gonna get an equity line, you're gonna get some type of credit, you're gonna open up, you know, possibly get a part-time job, you're gonna do anything, your credit score is probably gonna be pulled. And I always like to ask, what is a credit score composed of? There's 5 different components. Does anyone know what are the different components of a credit score? Anybody know the answer to that? What do they look at when they for the algorithm of the credit score? What are the different areas that they look at to come up with your credit score?
Whatever's outstanding.
Outstanding balance?
Outstanding balances.
Is one. Yeah. So
Closed credit cards, closed accounts.
Well, the outstanding balance, what they look at is if you have a revolving account, they look at how much you've used. So if you're kind of maxed out, it's going to really hurt your score. If you're paying it off every month or it's a real low balance, it's probably going to help your score. But that's one. So outstanding balance is one. So there's 4 more.
Repayment times, repayment schedule, if you're on time every month.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's a big one, is if you're late. If you have late payments, that is a big component of the score. So you got the balance you carry on your credit cards. You got if you have any late payments or if you're on time. There's
how long you've had the credit?
Yes, length of credit. So I always talk to everybody, if you've had a credit card since you were in college and it's been open for 40 years and you've never had a late payment, don't close it, because that once you close it, it's not calculated in your credit score. You've lost 40 years of on-time payments. So that's a real good one, because you know people do that. They close an old card and they're like, my score went down 50 points. Well, you eliminated all those on-time payments. So what else is there? So we got 3 of them.
Number of accounts? Credit cards or?
Well, type of accounts, so that's good. There's one more, which is real obvious. The last one is, there's one more that your credit score is calculated with.
Car loan?
Well, he kind of got the different types of loans.
It's the amount of credit you have, right? I mean, well, what you're approved to have, right? So if you have your level of, I mean, if I have a $25,000 credit line,
Well, she covered that. Yeah, she
Oh, I
covered that.
thought
The amount you've used.
that was
of credit.
outstanding credit, I thought you said.
She said outstanding balance.
Outstanding
which-
Balance, but I'm talking about what you're given.
No, that actually doesn't impact it. It's inquiries. So, do you ever hear when somebody goes to buy a car, their score goes down 50 points? So for 2 years, if you apply for credit, that would probably negatively impact your credit score. So whenever you want credit, the bank actually, every time they pull your credit, it goes down probably 3 to 5 points, and that lasts for 2 years. So those are the components. I think, so here's the breakdown. So payment history, number 1, you got that one. Amount owed is 30%. Length of credit, somebody mentioned that. I think you mentioned that one. New credit, which is inquiries, and types of credit. I think you said, so basically, you really need to have a mortgage, an installment loan, and a credit card, and have everything on time, and your balance is paid off every month if you want a really high score. That's how they're gonna calculate it, but this is the breakdown of a credit score.
No, this is not the same as a credit report.
No, this is just your score. Yeah, this is just your score. We're gonna, I have a slide on the credit report because, yeah, this is we'll get into that. There's a slide on that one I'll mention, but this is the property tax bill. And I always have this one in there because it just shows, when you look at your tax bill in the middle, it shows where all the tax dollars go. So the schools are gonna be one of them, the city or township you live in, but it's also gonna break down every levy. So if it's Lakeland, if it is libraries, it's gonna break down all the different areas that your tax dollars are going to in the county. So,
And Lorraine Fendy's gonna get the check.
oh, is her name on there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can update that.
A check payable to Lorraine then?
So, all right, so we've got, so I'm gonna start going on it, yeah, I have to update that slide. So we're gonna go over identity theft. So identity theft is whenever your credit is stolen, your personal information is stolen. And there's a lot of stories that I've heard over the last couple of years on issues with identity theft happening right here. A lot of the really sad stories are when it's a family member. I've heard a lot of stories where, children or, grandchildren will use their parents' credit or the grandparents' credit to open up utility bills, get apartments, and they don't find out for years. And that is an issue that is going around. The one question I always get is about title theft, because there's a lot of commercials out there right now about homes being stolen. And I have talked to the recorder about that, and I don't think that's happened in Lake County at all. I don't know if it's been attempted, but I don't think it's happened. But that's always a concern that people ask about. So I'm not sure what, if identity theft has happened to anybody in here, but one time it happened to me. I was on vacation a couple years ago with my family in Myrtle Beach, and we went to one of those souvenir stores where you buy surfboards and t-shirts and everything, and I remember giving my credit card to the cashier, and they swiped it underneath the desk, and they gave it back to me. They probably only had it for like 10 seconds, and I had a weird feeling, and they gave me back my credit card, and we left, and that night I got a call from my bank like 3 or 4 times in a row saying that there was a $1 charge, a $500 charge, and like a $2,000 charge that night. And they rejected all of them. And they had, the worst thing about it was when that happened, I'm in South Carolina and my credit card was frozen. You know, the bank froze it, which I'm glad they did. But I'm on vacation. You know, so good thing I had 2 credit cards because you know, it was kind of a nightmare. But they caught it. You know, I was really happy about that. And I think they sent me some forms, and it took about 45 days to recredit my my balance. But you know, they caught it for me, which I thought was really valuable. But has identity theft happened to anybody here?
Well, not exactly identity theft, but one of my cards through one of my banking accounts. I got a call from the bank and they said, did you do these deductions? And they were weird companies, something that I didn't recognize. And it was a card that I don't use that often. So we canceled the card out so that we wouldn't have to worry about it. They resubmitted me a new card and I haven't had problems since.
Okay, all right, good. Good. Yeah, usually, a lot of times the banks catch them, but
The
it's really
bank
scary
caught
because,
it, yeah.
you know, the stories that I usually hear is there's usually a small charge, like $1. And then once that goes through, watch out.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna be, they're gonna have real big charges within a couple minutes and, you know, hopefully the bank catches it for you. Any other issues that anybody has had in,
I had one recently, the bank called Huntington and said somebody tried to open up an account to get groceries delivered to their home. So you have to set up an account to do that so that they can, and it was like a $30 fee. And I said, she said, all right, where are you? I said, I'm in Ohio. And she said, oh, this is in South Carolina or something like that. And I said, no, that's not me. And she said, well, somebody just set up automatic deduction from your account so that they could get groceries delivered to their home.
oh geez.
I was like, what? So they caught it, you know, and canceled my card. Of course, that's a nightmare because you got your card tied to a lot of different things. But then you got to go through the whole thing of putting your card back on with different vendors and stuff like that. But yeah, they caught it, but it was just a nightmare, you know. But I was glad that they caught it. Huntington's pretty good at that.
Right, right. Yes?
Yeah, I got an ongoing battle with my wife with Timu. Yeah. I tell her, do not give your credit card to, the Timu is in China, okay? So I said, buy a credit card and use that credit card versus using your personal
Right.
credit.
And that's
Right.
what,
I don't
Yes.
want my
Yeah.
information.
and that's what I've been doing.
That is a really good idea.
Mhm, that's what
Yeah,
I've
if
been
you're
doing.
uncomfortable with the site, just to pay the $3.95 fee,
Right,
you got that.
exactly.
Yeah.
You got that
That's what I do.
temporary credit card.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I suggest to everybody is you can get a free credit report each year from freecreditreport.com, and it gives you can either have it emailed to you or they'll mail it to you. And you could, once you request that, it has your credit scores on it from all 3 credit bureaus. It has all your personal information, all your transaction or trade line information. But when you get that credit report, you should really look at it every year. You should go through it line by line and make sure there's nothing odd on it. Because if you have, a lot of times, it'll have a different middle initial, it'll have a different address, or your name's misspelled. Right there, somebody was trying to access your credit, it didn't go through. And also the trade lines to see what what is open on your credit. Is there something open that somebody's making payments on that you're not aware of? Or if there's late payments that are reported, or inquiries, like if you've had 10% of your credit scores inquiries, but has somebody pulled your credit that you didn't authorize? Is there something going on? So it's really a good idea to request that credit report every year and just take the time to look through it and just make sure there's nothing.
Is that all one word, freecreditreport.com?
Yeah, just one word. Yeah, and you should be able to get a free one with the 3 credit scores from TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, one time per year. But it's well worth it to take 20 minutes and just read through the report. Just make sure that it's
Do you recommend putting credit phrases on your account?
Yeah, we're going to go over that.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the best way to protect yourself from identity theft is just freeze your account. So you could actually go to Experian.com, Equifax.com, and TransUnion.com, and a free service they have. It's one of the first things on their site is to freeze your credit. So what you do is you freeze the credit, they'll give you a PIN, or you create your own PIN to unfreeze it. But the best thing about freezing your credit, if somebody tries to apply for something, they can't get your credit score. So that's going to be denied. You know, if they apply for anything, groceries, no, you don't even have a credit score. You know, yours was already an existing card, but yeah. So the best thing you can do is just freeze your credit, freeze all 3 scores. Now, when you go to apply for something, if you're going to buy a car, you're going to have to unfreeze it, and typically it's 24 hours. So you're going to have to tell the bank, I unfroze my credit, pull my credit right away. It's going to refreeze tomorrow. But boy, is that a great way to protect yourself. Because, I'm sorry?
Is it free?
It's free, yeah.
You just keep doing it all right?
Yeah, well, once you freeze it, I just have mine set up where when I unfreeze it, it's unfroze for 24 hours. It just refreezes. It's a free service, and you know, you could have great credit, but if they can't get your credit score,
Right.
they're not going to issue the credit line. So it's a great way to protect yourself. Use strong passwords and multi-factor authorization. And then use banking apps. I still who still writes out and mails in their checks? Anybody?
Very seldom, well.
Okay, I still write out checks. I'm just guilty of that. But they're saying banking apps are safer, but I just like writing a check. So update your operating system. Use secure Wi-Fi. There's a lot of stories I've heard over the last couple of years where somebody's at a library, or they're at Starbucks, or they're at a restaurant, and you're using Wi-Fi and you're using their credit card. Anybody could steal that number. So I'd only use it at home in a secure site, or at an office where it's a secure site where nobody could get it. Just do not use your credit card number or debit card number if you're in a public site. It's probably going to get stolen. Shred old documents. This is really.
I shred everything. I shred everything.
And it's really rough because everything you get in the mail, you know, they don't need all your information to try to open credit. If they have the last 4 digits of your social and your name and address, you know, they might be able to open up credit. They don't even need all of the information. So documents are really scary because, you know, bank statements, everything you're getting in the mail, you really need to shred them before you discard them. Keep personal information private. Encrypt if you're gonna email your bank or your stockbroker or whoever information about an account or your driver's license or anything you're sending them, your attachment you can encrypt, and then you can send them the passcode to open it instead of just sending them an attachment that anybody can open. And then file your taxes early. There are actually a couple people, the last few presentations, that had their taxes stolen that are here in Lake County, where somebody filed them prior to them filing their taxes, and they went through just a nightmare to be able to get that corrected with the IRS. And it might have been the last presentation, Brian, I don't know if you were here, but he never got, this one gentleman talked about his federal tax return being stolen, and he got it all cleared up, but he never got his tax refund back for that year. It just didn't happen. He just finally gave up on it. But that's kind of scary, but it's one thing you just may want to file early and try to avoid somebody taking your identity that way. And then
I have another question. In that scenario where you had to cancel your credit card, and you get a new one, and now you have a new number, how does that affect your credit score?
no, because it's not new credit, it's just being reissued. So there's no inquiry.
Oh, so no inquiry.
Right. Yeah, the inquiry is going to be that 10%.
That's the key, the inquiry.
Right, the inquiry. So reissuing won't affect it.
What's a good credit score?
If you're, probably like a 720 or 740 would be considered like an A credit. But depending on what your credit score looks like, there may be things you could do just by remembering that those 5 different components of the credit score. Just if it is as simple as lowering the balance on the revolving credit, it could be being really careful if you're going to apply for an auto loan. You might just want to tell the dealership, only pull it 1 time, don't pull it 10 times. There could be things where you could kind of control your credit score a little bit more than just whatever's happening with it. But probably a 720, 740 is an A. If you're below a 680, you may have trouble getting an approval at a bank. If you're below that, there's got to be some issue with the credit. So what you could do, a couple different things if you do have identity theft happen to you. The Federal Trade Commission can actually help. You could file a report with them on what happened. Usually your bank is really cooperative. Usually the bank will help you try to clean it up. The other thing too is if it does happen, you should file a police report. If it's something serious, like the gentleman with his federal taxes stolen, really file a police report, because then if something happens in the future and you need some kind of record of what happened, you have a police report, so you've got something to go back on. And then in the packet, there's a bunch of different information about imposter scams and identity theft. At a lot of these presentations, people are getting calls asking for information. I've had a lot of seniors talk about somebody actually even coming to the door or calling on the phone and saying they're with a particular company, asking for information. Or there was a lady, I think it was the last presentation, she was contacted and she said that her bank asked her to pay for something by,
Bitcoins.
it wasn't Bitcoin.
Oh, gift cards.
Gift cards, yeah. And at that point she stopped, but there was something going on with her account, and she actually called the I think they emailed her, and she called the number, and then they wanted her to pay by gift cards to clear up the overdraft. I think it was an overdraft, and they're really tricky, so you got to be really careful. But there's some handouts on imposter scams, tech support scams, and then unwanted calls. I mean, if they call you, I would probably call the bank back or call whoever they say they're from back at a number you can verify, just to make sure that they're not.
Same with the credit cards. Or
Right.
a credit card code on the back of your card.
Right, exactly. Because if they're calling you, they may have enough information, and they may sound very convincing, but when you hear a gift card or anything else, it's and then a few other tips on identity theft, and one of them is the best thing by far is just freeze your credit on all three credit sites. So Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. It's free, and I would just set up the 24-hour where it refreezes after you unfreeze the credit, and then you have that one site. I think it's in your handout, where you could file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. That's a good protection. And also the police. If something serious happens, get the police report. And then there's also, one suggestion is Credit Karma and Credit Sesame are 2 different sites. They'll give you free credit reports. You can check that. I would probably just go with the freecreditreport.com, but there are some other sites where you can get your credit.
That costs you money though.
Yeah, that one may cost you, it says free, but
Yeah, right.
I like the freecreditreport.com is actually the government. So
That one,
yeah, that one's probably the safest one.
Credit Karma is free too. Because I
Okay.
have Credit Karma, and I get updates from them all the time.
Yeah, the only problem with Credit Karma is they go with a daily recalculation
Yeah.
of your score where it's not the official score. So The credit bureaus, they just recalculate your score once a month. It's usually at the end of the month, and Credit Karma will do it every day.
Yes,
So-
I get texts all the time from them.
Yeah, so you could have like a 700 score, but it's actually 715. So, you may not know exactly what your score is, so. But it is a good way to see what's going on
Yeah.
with your credit.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Besides one of those skimming machines that, like you said, you gave them your credit card and they swiped it under the counter,
Mhm.
how are they getting your PIN number? I mean, how did these people get my PIN number to try to even?
I think there's also, I think there's more than just skimming machines. I think sometimes they take a picture of the front and the back of the card,
Oh,
and they have that 3 or 4 digit code on the back of your MasterCard or Visa, and then they could order anything they
yeah,
want.
online, yeah.
And once it goes through one time,
Right.
they're just gonna charge it up until it's full.
Well, what's good is Huntington, they knew I didn't live there. So they just knew that either she's on vacation or somebody else is doing this. They just assumed that it was somebody else because they kind of knew my habits.
Right.
And that happened to me even in Cleveland, when I went into Cleveland and I used my card and it was denied. And that was because when I got home, I found out it was because I was at a store I never go to.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and the bank just like, well, we figured you must have lost your card because you never shop at this store. So I thought that was pretty good,
Well, I'm happy that the banks do that. 'Cause,
it's Huntington, yeah, they were pretty good with that. I was just wondering how to get your PIN number, I can't understand it.
yeah, I just think they order
We'll take a
online with
picture.
that 3 digit code on the back.
You think they're taking pictures, huh?
Yeah, I think that's what they did to me.
Yeah.
So, but so before we continue on, I got a couple questions here. So I got two prizes. So I wrote a book on credit repair a couple years ago, and so somebody's going to win this book. So I am going to ask, and if you could raise your hand, just so there is no question on this. Okay, what percentage of your credit score is length of credit? Anybody know? What percentage of your credit score calculation is length of credit?
20%.
It's not 20,
30.
not 30.
No.
Well, the first one to get it, so.
15.
15%, yes, you were right. So 15% of your credit score is how long that credit has been open. And then, okay, I've got one other prize here. So the Treasurer's Office, we had a 5K race about 3 weeks ago, and we raised money for the United Way. So we had it at the fairgrounds. This is the medal. So it is a holding money and running. But we had about 75, 80 runners. It was a really good thing, and United Way does so much for Lake County. We're happy to support them. But this is a really tough question. So whoever gets it is going to get this medal. So we have a baseball team, which are the captains. But we also have Lake County has a semi-pro basketball team, and they play in Menor. And 2 years ago, they were the world champions. What's the name of that semi-pro basketball team? Anybody know?
Dribblers.
No, not the Dribblers. It's the Burning River Buckets. Yeah, they're good. They play in Menor I think at Menor High
I
School.
didn't know that.
All right, so I got another question here. So, okay, what date? And this, I'll have to get the actual month and day and year. But what date was the state of Ohio founded? The year everybody should get, but you got to get the month and day.
long time ago.
It's on a bunch of the farmhouse, or the barns.
18,
Yeah.
something. Oh my gosh.
No,
1803.
it's 1803. Yeah, she got that. Now, what month and?
What day?
Okay, it's March 1st, 1803 was when Ohio became a state. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit easier. So, all right, this is for the medal here. Oh, this is a really interesting question. Somebody's going to get this. Okay, so there's one city in Ohio that has been part of 6 different counties, and it is in Lake County, and it was part of Washington County, Jefferson, Trumbull, Geauga, Cuyahoga, and now it's part of Lake County. What's the name of that city?
Has to do,
Nope.
Council.
Madison.
What did you say?
Chillicothe.
No, it's a city in Lake County.
Geneva?
That's not that count.
Perry,
No?
Willoughby?
Who said Willoughby? Oh, you got it. Yeah, Willoughby has. So congratulations.
It used to be Willoughby Township, that's where East Lake and Little came from.
Yeah, so it's been 6 different guys. It's kind of a neat, a neat trivia question.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we're gonna move on. Okay, so a couple of these I think we've kind of went over. Just the free annual credit report. I highly suggest everybody just look at that once a year. If you order it online and you have it emailed to you, you have it in like 2 minutes, and you can just really go through it. But take the time to look at everything, because a lot of the errors you'll see are a different middle initial, different addresses. You had that where they're trying to mail something, or they're trying to mail groceries to a different address. So if you see that, you could at least, if you see any discrepancies, you could email the credit bureau, whether it's Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, and just say, hey, these are errors on my credit report, and they should update those. They have 30 days to correct those. But also look at the trade lines. Inquiries is rent. I mean, that could be, it could be $100 a year. So that's, something you could just try to fit into your budget. If you're trying to sign up for the homestead exemption, that's going to have a big impact on your budget. It's probably $400 to $700. So, yes.
When you say water and sewer, isn't it all just under the sewer? You
It's
get
one-
off on your water bill too?
Yeah, it's one bill, but it's water and sewer. It's kind of broken down on the bill. What city do you live in?
Minute.
Menor? Yeah, so it should be, when you get your bill, it should be broken down, but they total it all together, but it's 30%.
But you don't see it on your water bill though. You don't get
From
it off your
Aqua, no.
actual water bill.
Aqua's the water bill, it's separate. We don't get a discount from them, why?
No, yeah, because they're not the county, that is a private company.
And boy, the air costly.
Yeah, if you don't have the
Lake County Water.
Lake County water, you will not get the discount, yeah.
Well, that's not fair.
Where I live,
Question is, how do you
in
get Lake
Madison,
County water?
our condo complex, just Lake County Water just put in the remote meters on our water meters.
Okay.
So we're all just like, okay, what's our next water bill gonna be? Because we're in the village, we're in Madison Village, so we pay Madison Village water every month. Okay, so now it's gonna be different for us because we're paying the bill every 3 months.
Right.
So now we ought to sit back and wait to see how much more or less we're gonna pay.
Yeah, but I would still apply for the credit, because.
Oh, I asked them about the credit, and they said the only way that I could apply for the credit was if I qualified for the homestead
Okay.
exemption.
Okay.
That's what Lake County Water told me.
Yeah, now are you already on homestead, or are you already?
No,
on homestead?
I haven't applied for it.
Okay.
I have
all
not
right,
applied for it.
great. Okay. Yeah, I would, just apply for both of them as soon as you can. And but going through the budget, there's a lot of value in going through your budget and seeing what your expenses are. Lifeline has so many different programs. A lot of some of the programs that are available out there, if you rent and you're going to move to another apartment, there are quite a few programs that will help you with the first month's rent. in Lake County. So if you know any friends or family that are moving this year, they should definitely check with Lifeline and see if there's some type of a credit to help them with the first month's rent, to where they'll pay it, which would be a big benefit to somebody. And then the utilities, I think they just made their announcement for some of the utility credit that they had. I don't know if it was like 600 or 700 people in Lake County got some type of assistance for utilities, which is another big program with Lifeline, but that's something to check into.
Lifeline information in the packet?
No, I don't have their number in there, but
What is it called, just
Lifeline, they're in Painesville.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they just, when you go through the budget, it really breaks down all the different expenses, but sometimes to see what you're spending your money on and to see what type of difference that would make over the month, whether it is, going out to eat or if you're doing, spending your money in a particular way, you can kind of see it on paper, if it's something you want to continue doing or eliminate that. One thing that I do with the high school students is I have them create a budget, and on the budget there is, we have on there, if they go through a drive-through or if they go to a sit-down restaurant, and for the drive-through, it's not real accurate now, we have $10 per going through the drive-through and $25 if they go to a sit-down restaurant per person, but that's per instance. So if they're going to go through the drive-through each day, that's $300, 30 times $10. So that really has an impact when they see it on paper compared to just talking about it. And 30 times $25 is $750 a month for going out to food, especially for somebody in high school who has really no other bills besides a car. They can see where their money's going. So it's really, I think, really valuable to go and see where all your money is going. What money you're having, what money is coming in per month, and where you're spending your money, and just breaking it down and seeing if it's something you want to try to change. Some of the other tips, especially for seniors, that they have regarding budgeting, is they suggest reviewing your out-of-pocket coverage policies. There's a lot of tips on that. It may have been worthwhile a year or two ago for the policy you have, but your prescriptions, your doctor, certain things may have changed to something that you may want to look at every single year to see if there's something that would be more effective or less costly. So it's something that you should look at. And they also have on here numerous times Medicare prescription drug plan. Sometimes the deductibles and co-pays change, so it's something to look at on an annual basis because there could be a better one out there for you. And the other big one I wanted to mention was senior discounts. I don't have it on here in the slide, but there's a lot of places that give senior discounts, and I'm not quite a senior yet, but I'm definitely going to take all the discounts. So it's something to look into if you qualify for those, especially when you're doing your budget. If there's something that's more friendly financially because of the discount, then something to consider to put in your budget.
It depends if you have AAA or if you have Art Card, you 10% off at different places like over at Denny's.
Right. And that makes a huge difference. If you consider, the sit-down restaurant that I have for the high school budget, $25 per meal, and some of them go every day because they don't have other bills. They have a car. So when you're talking a 10% discount on that, you're talking $75 a month. I mean, it really adds up. So something to consider when you're doing your budget. But I think this budget that is in your packet is pretty thorough. So if it's something you want to use to start, if you want to look at everything, it'd be a good way to break everything down. And that's pretty much it. So I have a couple other things I wanted to hand out. And then if anybody has any questions, we could go over anything. But I do have we do have a opiate meeting that we have every couple months from the treasurer's office. We try to work with the local churches and nonprofits, and we try to help people that are trying to overcome addiction, maybe re-entering society. But we do have Project Noel. They're going to come out and give a presentation. If anybody's interested, I have a little flyer here. Anybody's welcome. It's June 20th at 2 p.m. And you're welcome to attend the meeting. And one other thing I do is I go to a couple of the local prisons, and I do financial literacy and identity theft for some of the inmates that are going to be released soon, re-enter society. Because if they're able to succeed, they're going to need as many tools as they can. And one of them is financial literacy. If they're going to, come out and be able to, get a job and get an apartment and not get in financial trouble and clear up their identity. A lot of times when I go out there, it's over half of them have some type of identity issues on their credit because they've been in there for a while. They really really aren't watching that, but it gives them tools to clean up their credit and help them succeed. So just something that I believe in that helps people. But if anybody's interested in the opiate meeting, there's flyers up here, and if anybody has any questions, be happy to.
You're a PhD, what is your background?
It's business technology, so it's finance. So
That's a good move, treasurer.
Oh yeah. My background is I've got brokerage and then banking. So basically it was a really good transition. Pretty much knew the job. So and I really enjoy it because it's. I got a great staff, and to bring in the technology to be able to, clean up the, to bring in technology where we could do emails and texts, and one thing that we did, which made a big difference, is when I first came in, if you wanted to pay your taxes online, you had to load in your parcel number, your address, your payment, and it populates. So if you put in your parcel number, the amount that you owe for the taxes automatically populates, and that's a big difference because we would have the first year, if your taxes were $1,020, and you would type it in, some people would type in 1,002 or 1,200, it would be rejected. And that little difference, just populating the taxes, probably, I don't know, it's probably about 100 people. I mean, these little things make a big difference. So technology, and we brought in all like Google Pay, Apple Pay, all these different things. And when you get into the younger generation, that's how they pay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Now, when let's say you go to that, every month you pay taxes, what's the security on what account? If it was your checking account, what security is there so nobody else can get that information other than in the treasurer's office?
yeah, it would be, I mean, our office is really secure. You really can't get into the office without
I understand that part, but I'm talking about online or whatever it is. Because if I have automatic payments on my checking account, you have to have my checking account route number and everything else, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what security is there that nobody else can get to that? There's other.
Yeah, the only way to get to that is you'd have to have one of the 9 people at the office would have to sign in. So anybody at the treasurer's office could get in there. But no one else would. Their personal password to get into anybody's information at the treasurer's office.
You probably have a secure firewall already on the system.
Yeah, outside of the office there's that, but only 9 people could actually get into
Deputy
they'd have to go
treasurer,
back.
okay.
Yeah, so it'd have to, if it ever happened, it'd be one of the 9 people that did it in the treasurer's
Oh,
office.
that's right, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I think in July, we will be paying the second half of 2023 taxes.
Correct, yeah.
And then come February, I think, or whatever, next year, we will be paying for 2024. And that's going to go up, from what I understand, significantly, the tax values on our properties.
Yeah, the auditor's working on the new valuations. I don't think they'll be out until August, but I heard there'll be 10 to 12% of an actual tax increase. I think the valuations are going up around 30, but due to the inside and outside millage and how much they can increase taxes based on value, it's probably more in the 10 to 11, 12% range are the actual increases, but it'll be also where you live is going to determine how much that changes. There's a couple cities where it's going to be more.